Okay, it was a wonderful exchange. We're setting up. We're setting up. We'll talk to the minister anytime shortly. We'll begin our conversation right here. Okay, so let's bring down the music. Welcome to the OK Morning Rush on 99.5. I see many other outlets here. I may not know all by name, but the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Augustine Kpehe Ngafuan, is here in our studio. He used to be Director of the Budget. He went on to become the Minister of Finance. Then he became the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He resigned. He said he did so in compliance with the Code of Conduct. When the 2017 election was coming around, later on he will move to Uganda as the African Development Bank country rep there. He's back home as the Minister of Finance. In my words, a familiar terrain, if I would say. Minister Ngafuan, I'd like to say good morning. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Clarence, and it's good to be in this studio and good to see you. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, very long. You want to elevate the mark? It's movable. It goes wherever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been quite a while. It's good to see you in flesh and blood. And the team here at OK, you've been doing very well in the media landscape and others that I relay. I'm very happy to be back home and to be in your studio. I love the ambience.
Thank you. Welcome. How is the ministry generally? How is the ministry?
Well, the ministry of Finance is moving and working to achieve the targets that we've set as a government. There are huge expectations on the ministry. So there are huge expectations on the minister that cascades to the deputies, the assistants, the directors, assistant directors, the employees, the janitors, the security. And I'm the captain of the team. But everyone in this team is working tooth and nail, understanding the enormity of the tax, the enormity of the aspirations and dreams that the people have across the nook and cranny of this country. So I'm very happy that the team is working along with me. And over the past 3 weeks, there was evidence of sacrifice of common people, ordinary people. When I saw budget technicians, some of whom are women, tiring for their country, being working up to 2 a.m. in the night. You know, some of them had to even be sleeping on couches, in their chairs, working for country. This was clear evidence of putting country first above all else. And that people don't see the sacrifice. It's like you go to a restaurant, you get a good food, but many times you don't go in the kitchen where the food is being cooked. And sometimes it's painstaking. It is delicate process. So they've been in the kitchen, and that's the job. And I feel very good of the amount of sacrifice that the team is making, not just from the Ministry of Finance. We had the LRA team working with us, especially in these processes. At one point, we were joined by the CSA team. It was an all-government approach. And I feel that the professionalism, the vim and vigor to work for country is there, and it's my duty to make sure that we work for country and do what the president expects us to do.
Okay. What are the challenges there at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning? By the way, are there prospects?
When you talk about challenges, we could spend a whole day talking about challenges. one of the things I say often is that we don't want to spend all our time cursing the darkness. My duty, working with the team, is to light the candle. It's one way to react when the place is dark, is to cry all along that the place is dark. But you could take the candle, the match, and light something. So what we are doing, we are lighting the candle amidst the challenges. We could go on the challenges. When I left, the last time I was in this job, more than 12 years ago, we had just succeeded in having $5 billion in external debt canceled. We had enormous fiscal space. Now I come back, we have been shackled and suffocated by a huge debt service burden as a country. It's taking more and more of our fiscal space. If we were to budget fully for debt service obligation for next year, we talk about $328 million in the budget to go for debt servicing. Obviously, that's money away from health, money away from education, money away from roads, money away from civil servants, just to deal with our debt service obligations. This budget we put in about, if I'm not mistaken, 137 million for debt service to deal with debt, external and domestic, most of which external. And if you slip on the deadline to pay, you get sanctioned. So when I was in the job before, we have freedom. We had a clean slate, but now we don't have a clean slate. Government's credit record, even in the local environment, is not as good as before. It's like government owes almost everybody. I would not be surprised if government owes you, your entity. So we have to put that burden and methodical, transparent way deal with that. But besides that, the development challenges and ambitions of our people, have increased. The last time I was in this job, more than 12 years ago, the budget was around 500 million. The population was lower. This year's budget just around upwards of 700 million. Over 12 years, the growth of the budget versus the growth of the population and the expectations and ambitions of the people have not moved in tandem. So we have to catch up. And that instead of just running, we'll be galloping. Thank God that some other members of the team come with similar spirit. The central bank has a crop of individuals that complement us, and that the values we share. The NRA is working tooth and nail in order to plug leakages, making sure that legitimate government revenue is raised, and we're going to be taking some more actions to support their initiatives, and it's just to be fair to the country. So challenges are there, but my duty, as I said, is not to whine too much about challenges.
Okay. December is gradually around. Today is the 20th of November. Have we started paying? Is the government paying for November now?
Well, the government started paying for November. The last time we were in this job, payment of civil service on time was not an issue, was a given. Government paid, I think, 10 days before the end of the month. For years, that was the scenario. Well, there's been I call it transitional challenges over time, and that has not been the reality. And I have asked my folks, some of whom worked in the ministry when we were there, and my simple question was, how did you do it before? How did you do it? How were you a miracle worker to ensure that government employees got paid before the end of the month? Are you a magician? Were you a magician? No. You did it before. So my simple question to inspire them is, why not do it now? Except there is a resource problem that we haven't raised the money, except we have what I call technical and other exogenous challenges. Barring those, I don't see why government shouldn't pay on time. So we've started. I think this month we started paying on Friday, the 15th, and as we speak, more than 50 government ministries and agencies have already been paid for November. I've given a firm mandate to the team that by the on or before the 24th of each month, barring what I call technical and other exogenous challenges that will make it difficult. Like in October, they were migrating to a new payment system. There was a technological glitch. Those are things we can understand, but those things are being solved. Barring those, I don't see why we shouldn't pay on the 24th or earlier. So that's why this month we started paying on the 15th. More than 50 ministries, agencies, and commissions have already been paid. And my people tell me that we are on target to meeting the 24th. And this is not a one-time target that you're going to win any Nobel Peace Prize on. I told them it's going to be routine. Paying people on time should be routine. Because let me say this. If you don't pay government employees, one of the reasons why I'm passionate about this, in some respects, we've done some things with the pay, but there's a way to underpay employees indirectly. When you delay their pay and they are constrained to go and take loans from anybody, and the loan is charged interest, the interest they pay because of the delay is a reduction in their pay. So when you delay an employee for let's assume for a month and they go and take a loan for 20%, 25%, that interest is like you have reduced their pay. So each time government delays the pay of employees, you technically reduce their pay. So we're going to be paying on time and to some extent before the time. So, I mean, where people will say they haven't worked up to the 31st, well, I wouldn't cry if government employees can loan people too. And before that time, 10 days before, they can loan people and get some interest. They can up their pay. So we're going to be passionate about this.
Okay, Minister.
So it's going to be a routine feature going forward.
Yesterday, you addressed the Ministry of Information's regular press briefing, and I know we'll take a lot of time to talk about the budget. We'll look at specifics. We'll talk a lot about the issues in the budget. But the government has been in power for a little over 10 months now. For the better part, probably we could say 10 months now. Up to date, except I'm missing something here, but we have not seen a development plan. Unlike Liberians who say, by this time in 2018, the CDC had launched what they call at that time the Proper Agenda for Prosperity and Development. Why is the agenda of the arrest taking so long? Are you in charge of its development, and can you give us some definite timeline about its launch, Mr. Minister?
Well, thank you very much. It's one thing to eat food that is quickly cooked, but it's another thing to eat top quality food. So we are focusing on quality, and so the process is thorough. The process is more consultative than before. People are dispersed across the country. When I came in, there were two processes that I considered very seriously: the budget and the National Development Plan that we call the Arrest Agenda for Inclusive Development, the AAID. We have been working on two streams simultaneously. You from Bon County, ask your folks, they've been what we call county consultations. We've had consultations with the caucuses. We're having consultations with the development partners. The second draft of the budget the National Development Plan, have been validated already. There was a validation session, I think, last week at the ministerial complex.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are counter validations going on as we speak. Our plan is that by the end of the month or a week or so thereafter in December, the plan will be launched. There's a difference here with our the new national development plan. Unlike in the past, this plan is going to be accompanied by what we call the county development agenda. Each county, the 15 counties, will have an agenda for development. So besides the national development plan, there will be what we call the CDAs, county development agenda. There will be a Bong County development agenda. As a Bong stakeholder, you will see what are the aspirations of Bong County. So we're going to be using that not just for the government's budget, but we as finance at finance, our duty is to spur development, to work with our partners and say to our partners, this is what the people think. So whether it is the World Bank or the UNDP, the ADB or others, they will be looking at the county development agendas too and say, what can we do for the people of Bong, for the people of Nimba, for the people of Groundpool, or for the people. So besides the National Development Plan, the counties are speaking. We as government will pick up something. So initially, besides all what we are doing in the government, in the budget for counties, for decentralization, we're doing there are funds for county, the normal county development fund, the CDF, the SDF, the social development fund that goes to the counties for the three counties, some of the counties, that the entire thing goes to Bong, Nimba, and Grand Bassa. We have also post funding in this budget, is a new feature for to help with the implementation of county development agendas. So it's another layer. At the legislature, working with the legislature, there is funding too for counties. So besides what we're going to be doing as a government, the partners are going to be supporting those county development agendas. So I think on or before the middle of December, the new development plan of government will be launched.
Okay, except that we'll wait to see how it is done differently, because I can vividly recall that during the first regime of Madam President, there was a county development agenda before. So yes. This is not the first. Now,
yeah, it's not the first.
Okay, yeah,
that was 2009, 2010, and there was no county development agendas later.
Okay, because so I know each of these counties had a development agenda. Minister, but let's talk about some of the real bread and butter issues. And one that is catching could be the issue about the exchange rate. It is actually declining, but the prices of basic commodities on the market keep increasing. People are losing purchasing power and are complaining. So is there any strategy about how the government is going to address this? What explains this situation, for example? Is it artificial? Will the rate shoot up again?
Well, there are a lot of macroeconomic things that will explain it. But what I would just say generally is that at this point, when you have Liberian dollar appreciates, meaning that the value of the Liberian dollar vis-a-vis against the US dollar has gone up. The value has gone up. I don't want us to get into the weeds because we spend too much time on it. Or you're talking about the prices. Prices catch up with a lag. When the rate goes down, it takes some time before prices adjust, because sometimes business people bought things at higher prices. So the price adjustment comes a little bit later. Although that needs to be monitored also by some of the units of government, commerce and others, to see to what extent that people are doing things that are unfair. So the government units responsible, the government entities will be checking. So if things are sustained, well, over a period, and people continue to keep prices at artificially high level, firstly, demand for their good or for their services or for their products will start to drop, and then demand will constrain prices to drop. But you know, we watch over time. Over time, prices will adjust definitely. This is what I think.
Now, let's move on from there. Then we can jump straight to the budget process and spend some real time on it. Some Liberians are interested in this issue of jobs and investment. You know, if you were doing a voice pop, walking in the streets and talking to some Liberians, people have multi-dimensional view about the whole thing. Something that since the Joe Boakai government came to power, they don't see any improvement in the job and investment profile of the government. What is the agenda, the arrest agenda for job investment? What concrete promise can you make to the Liberian people?
Well, you know, there are things that we need to do as a country to open up the economy, attract investment. Investment brings jobs, and investment brings opportunities. There are a lot of investment plans in the pipeline, and I don't have too much time to get into the details. Whether it's in energy, is in agriculture, in all the sectors, people I see Liberia as an attractive place to do business. Yesterday, I was in conversation with some other investors, people who want to invest in the energy sector, in power, distribution, even generation. Every day there is our schedules. It's not only me, the president's schedule, the minister, even the Minister of Foreign Affairs schedule, National Investment Commission. So these things are happening. What we're trying to do is to make sure that we be a little thorough so that those that pass the limit, the requirements, that meet the requirement, are given the opportunities. But things are in the pipeline. Let me say this. You talk about jobs. One of the things that we need to do, and we are pushing heavily, is to tackle the constraints to growth. Two main constraints we have: electricity, power, and road connectivity. When you have one of the things that is disabling businesses is the huge amount they are paying for power. Generation is taking away profits. The more power takes away from business income, the less businesses have to employ and to expand. So we have to tackle that power issue. And so it's not only on the budget. In fact, let me explain the budget, because people will be looking at the budget and checking percentages. The whole development package, the resource package that comes to the government, comes on budget and off budget. Off budget, mainly through partner support. Like last week, I signed a 115 million grant agreement with the American government, USAID. None of that amount of money is on budget. It goes to agriculture, it goes to education, it's funding to those sectors. We also take loans, project loans that support sectors. So even electricity, you saw that the president broke grounds, I think 3 weeks ago, for a new solar plant at Mount Coffee. I think 90 megawatts to come on stream by August next year. So LEC's generation capacity improves. Government will be able to do more. There are a lot of interests that are in the pipeline: solar generation, distribution, or what have you. So in the next 1, 2, 3 years, the power sector will be at a definitely different level. Liberia has been selected as one of 14 countries by the African Development Bank and the World Bank. They are launching something called Mission 300. The goal is that between now to 2030, 300 million Africans will have access to electricity. 300 million Africans. Liberia is one of 14 countries that have been targeted. When we were at the World Bank, I was at the World Bank IMF annual meetings recently, and one of the discussions was to focus on the Liberian Energy Compact. We are developing a compact, a document to say what we're going to do in energy, what government will do, what the partners will do over this period. The goal is to increase access. I think access now is about 30% or so, if I'm not mistaken, to up it to nearly 90% within this period. So big investments are coming, some from the partners. We're talking about a possible, how they call it, Simple Hydro 2 to add up to McCoffee and other private initiatives. But I don't want to get so much energy on this. But on in roads, next year there's going to be big activity. The road agenda is going to be huge. We've allocated upwards of 50 million just for roads. I will ask you to call the Minister of Public Works to roll it out. What we're trying to do, Clarence, you see the Ganta Zwedru highway. There's a project, a World Bank funded project that government, got into some years ago. That project has been moving, but a little bit at a snail's pace. There is, I think, Sanikwe Lugatuo. We also have the Banga Menikoma Highway project, which is intended to take the road, paved road, from Banga, your town, to Vonjaman, to Kula, my place, to Menikoma. So that project has been moving, but to some extent, a little bit slowly. Most of these projects have been moving, but we intend to jumpstart them. There is something called counterpart funding. So you have the donor that will say, okay, we want to fund this project. Government, your duty is to pay 5% of the project. Your duty is to deal with what we call the Resettlement Action Plan, the RAP, meaning all persons that are on the road, all structures. More often than not, the donors expect the government to underwrite the cost. If government gets short-handed and cannot do those things, those projects don't move as fast as they should. In the budget, we've allocated monies so that all those projects will move fast. So you will see activity, quota roads. The Ganta, I don't know how far they are now from Ganta, but Ganta's Werju, there's going to be enough movement. The Sanikwele, Lugatu, to Tapeta, and then the Banga Menikoma. The first phase, we are talking with the partners, the funders for that project to get the resources for the second phase, so that there will be no discontinuity in that project. So it will be moving year on until we hit target. Okay. So the road agenda is going to be huge. The Public Works Minister has informed you about the bridge to bridge, the Greater Talker Bridge to St. Paul Bridge. That will be, the Japanese have decided to help to fund. They will construct the one from Freeport to the Greater Talker Bridge. What is happening now is interim, because the Japanese come next year, maybe by the middle to the end of the year. So, but there is going to be an activity between now to that time, and then there is, I think, a contractor that has been contracted for the one from Freeport to St. Paul Bridge. Now, when you unlock all these things, businesses will boom.
Okay,
talking about job strategy. I don't want to end on this.
Yeah,
because all these things connect, making them more enabling. Businesses expand, they will employ. Liberia, it gets more profitable. So in our job strategy, key is to what I call unlock these opportunities in the power sector, in the road sector, and other critical interventions that we will be making. through the budget and through other initiatives.
Okay, Minister, we'll take some time to bring the Minister of Public Works to expand on some of these things. Let's now move on to the national budget. Mr. Minister, are you comfortable with the budget submission process, and will you personally appear before the majority bloc for budget hearing?
Well, Clarence, the budget law states that the budget is submitted to the legislature by the president. The president may choose to delegate submission to the Minister of Finance. That is presidential discretion. But the budget is like a bill. The bills are submitted to the legislature. You don't necessarily have to have ceremony. Like you have an act going to the legislature that affects the security sector. When last have we ever seen a minister of? It's been very difficult. You see a minister of justice, going to escort the bill rather going to the legislature, or a bill affecting maybe education, to see the minister of education going to personally submit the bill. So all these add-ons, I call them protocol niceties. Niceties about Minister of Finance going to submit the budget is for media and protocol. Those are protocol add-ons. They are not technically legal requirements. The legal requirement is that the president should submit the budget. The president informed the Liberian people that given the circumstances involving at the legislature, he was consulting. I think he took almost 3 weeks consulting legal experts and others. At the end of the day, the president has acted. For me, the last time I checked, I was not a graduate, or even I am not a student of the law school. I am not. So I cannot second guess the president. Our duty is to act on the ambitions of the people in the budget. So the relevant arm of government who are better positioned can explain all the legal issues and what have you. So the budget has been submitted. We will act accordingly. I'm in studio giving you details of the budget. We can only hope that whatever legislative impasse will sort themselves out, and but in the meanwhile, we are guided by the presidency on matters. And so we will hope, because at the end of the day, we want the budget passed before the end of the year. The reason is this: early passages of the budget translates to effective execution of the budget. When we start to effectively execute the budget, resources will go out sooner. It creates a multiplier effect. We have in this budget laid out, the president has authorized a lot of interventions that will affect a lot of people, including civil servants and others. The more we delay, we cannot implement any of those measures if the budget is not passed on time. Meaning, we will have something called a 112 continuing resolution. The law provides that if the budget is not passed by the start of the fiscal year, the Ministry of Finance is authorized to spend 112. But of the past budget, meaning any new initiatives cannot be spent on until the budget is passed. There are new interventions, including interventions that will affect the lives of people. So we will hope that the legislative imbroglio can sort itself out, so that you, myself, and others cannot be specimen in this battle. So We are little people in this game. We are all praying and hoping that the elders of us, you, so that when you're going to interview, are you shaking their man hand so strongly than the other person? So that's how everybody who we call elders can meet in the upper room and give us clarity.
Mr. Minister, will you appear before the majority block for budget hearing?
Well, as I said, that these issues are issues that we get guidance from. The president has acted, and whatever moves will be aligned with the president's action.
Now let's move on. You say that to me, you will appear before the majority bloc. Is that what you're saying?
Whatever move I make will be aligned, because you don't expect me to take any action that will not be aligned with the action of the president. The last time I checked, the legal arms of government has advised the president accordingly. I think I benefit from that advice that cascades from the president downwards. So whatever I do in this process will be strictly aligned with presidential guidance and presidential actions.
Mr. Minister, yesterday when you appeared at the regular press briefing, you announced that beginning next year, no government worker will make less than 150 United States dollars, which in my mind is the minimum wage. A lot of people think the CDC government ended the minimum wage. In fact, I read one paper where it is stated that former Finance Minister Samuel Toy said that the CDC policy, left about 15,000 workers benefiting from this, and that the CDC government ended this. Why are you announcing this when someone will say it has ended already?
Clarence, honestly, when I come in this studio and I come in these public engagements, I don't like to talk party-led government, because it just invokes the sentiment of partisanship, and we don't look at facts. So that's the reason why I try to shy away from stuff, because we've done well with our democracy, but to some extent, and I'm talking as a Liberian, I'm not talking as the finance minister. Everyone tries to get in a partisan cocoon, and then it's like you don't look at facts. You try to say, okay, my party. I'm not here for that on these matters. I came to serve the Liberian people, and I came to help as a Liberian. So my work will benefit people, some of whom will be UP people, seditious, and what have you. The people I work with at the ministry, so many people that were sacrificing, I told you that they were sleeping overnight. Some of them are seditious. Some of them are from other parties. So we don't, for me, as I said, is what you can do for your country. Don't come, your first credential shouldn't just be you're a partisan. What you can do to push the country forward. And so I don't want to get in all CDC like government. The fact is this, I can tell you this. We will not be proclaiming that beginning next year, all civil servants who are being paid below the minimum wage threshold of 150, will be paid 150 or above. You heard about demonstrations at the Ministry of Information before. People at the time, you heard about demonstrations at the Ministry of Transport not too long ago. I actually doubted it. Actions were taken, some actions were taken in the past to rectify this situation. So I too thought everything was fine. And I was engaging with my folks on the payroll. And I was surprised to talk about, I said to them, please tell me, as at this time, what is the pay of the lowest paid civil servant? And maybe if I knew you were bringing this question, and maybe we could get the authority of the individual, I would have given you the name. $53. Some person I know is a chief or somewhere in River G. There are human beings that are being paid below 150. That is an incontrovertible fact. I don't care. So actions were taken, but some people were left behind. So we will not be, President Buckeye will not come and say that beginning next year, all those who are still left behind, it doesn't mean that we didn't appreciate some actions that were taken to bring people at the threshold, but some are still left behind. So we say that beginning next year, all of those people, those few people that are left behind, will take as a policy, we will be checking with binoculars to see that no one is being paid below 150. I myself will monitor it. So that chief or whosoever in River G that makes $53 taxable, imagine that. $53 taxable. So let's not get in the issue.
Do you want to match it to number of how many persons your announcement will affect?
Well, in total, the number of beneficiaries of this, remuneration adjustment strategy is 28,200. There are various levels here and there. I think my folks, there are few people. There are not too many now, because there's been some migration. Those that are below the 150, there are not too many. But there are people there. And so those people will be migrated on or to the threshold. Well, some are saying, you know what, the threshold is a little bit low, but at least let's ensure that no one gets below the threshold. And that's what's going to happen beginning January 2025.
Liberia's Finance and Development Planning Minister, Augustine Kpehe Ngafuan, is our guest this morning. We're taking it up to 10 o'clock. Mr. Minister, let's look at the payroll numbers a bit. There is a little bit of confusion that I have on where the numbers are. And I want to ask, by the 31st of December this year, Mr. Minister, what will be the total payroll outcome of the government?
Well, well, I think I may not be exact. But the payroll, I think the government inherited a total, in terms of number of civil servants above 65,000. 65,000 actions have been taken, just rigorous enforcement, even of, work discipline. The civil service rule says that if you do not come to work 14 days in a row, you qualify for, you are just saying that you don't want to work. So all those kinds of actions have been taken, and other actions that the civil service Director General can announce. The number of civil servants have come down to about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 61,000 something. So it's coming down. Some people, at one point, the civil service director talked about 6,000 persons that were suspected to be ghosts, and he said that all those who consider themselves real should appear. Some have been appearing, but some of the quote-unquote ghosts have remained in the grave, so they haven't come back. So there have been some savings. Also, at the end of the day, the figure may hover around 309, 310, but we'll confirm the figure. But so it's around that bandwidth, But what we are doing, we will not promise anything that we will not do. I mean, one conversation I heard someone saying that there's a scam, that these promises on what we are going to do as a top up, this is a scam. President Buckeye will not authorize actions. And this minister, will not go to a meet-count. The only thing that could stop it, if the legislature does not approve, So we shouldn't nickel and dime about things. These proposals, and let me lay them out to you. Beginning next year, the government intends to take a slew of actions, one of which was the minimum wage action, meaning that no civil servant in the government will make $150 or below $150, which is the minimum wage as provided for in the Decent Work Act. That is action number one. Action number two, we have almost 2,000 teachers in the education sector who are C certificate holders, B certificate holders, associate degree holders, or bachelor degree holders. You know, in my past life as Minister of Finance, we put the entire education sector on a different pay category. Whereas the minimum pay was around 100 something, I think the minimum pay for teachers was something around 300. And so when you bachelor degree teacher, you master degree teacher, there are pay gradations. So there are more than 2,000 teachers that have not been paid at their level. Some of them, they are short by $100, some 75, some 50, some more than that. So 2,000 teachers are going to be paid at their pay level beginning next year when the legislature hopefully, if the legislature hopefully approves it. Now, besides that, just give me a minute, let me lay out the package. We have nurses. The nurses are going to get top-ups. Nurses, physician assistants, and there's another category. You know, all of them are going to be top-ups to $50 minimum next year on their gross income. Then there are people in the health sector between 25 to 40, you know, but nurses going to get top-up. Now, there is a group of specialist doctors in the health sector that government had started taking some actions to regularize their pay. Now, there are, I think, upwards of 100 of them that haven't been fully regularized yet. So we have started the action to migrate them to their pay level. So next year, we're adding $225 each to that group so that by maybe the next following year, we can fully regularize them. Now, we have a huge issue of volunteer teachers, and we have a huge issue of volunteer health workers all across the country. So we've given appropriations both to the Ministries of Health and Education, to $1.3 million dollars each, so that they will do some vetting and start the migration process. Those that will qualify, we're talking about $1.3 million to health and the same amount to education. They are going through a vetting. So that problem will start to gradually solve them. Now, for police people, since 2015, there is an act, Police Act, that obligates government to underwrite the cost of insurance for police. Unfortunately, these dedicated men and women in the police service have been made to pay insurance for themselves. That obligation of government has been shouldered by these people. So we've said, President Bokar has said that this is untenable. So beginning next year, the police or the insurance burden will be fully covered by government. So that amount of money that they've been, I think I'm told, is between $12 to $15 based on the person. Government will not have to pay their own insurance. In addition, we're adding on all police officers something about $30. So you talk about $42. You know, one is not going to be taxed, the other is taxed. You know, soldiers, EPS officers, other security officers, $40 across, and at different levels. So this is the package. But in all, 28,200 civil servants, representing 45% of the civil service, you know, those are the number this is the number of persons that will benefit.
That will benefit.
But let me just end on this.
Yeah, we gotta go to the next issue.
No, let me about this issue is still hanging. We have said this is the first set of actions in our multi-year plan to address the issue of remuneration and those model challenges. So we haven't reached the bus stop on this issue. As the budget elasticizes, as we raise the money, which we think we will be taking action. We haven't solved all the problems. There are some other sectors that will not benefit, but the president has instructed that we emphasize these sectors, and it's going to also benefit agricultural workers. I forgot about them.
Okay,
Extension
Minister.
workers. So
Minister, let's
the
move
full
on.
package, when the CSA director, your good friend Josiah Joker comes, you will lay
Now, Minister,
everything here to
a lot of Liberians have been concerned about this issue of salary disparity, which some believe is it's a major driver of inequality and poverty. Let's look in your budget. Does the budget address disparity? Because some SOEs and other spending entities are still earning way too much amidst this tight, financial fiscal space.
Well, the budget is not a budget to allocate funds for SOE salaries. The problem of the civil service in terms of remuneration is huge. It is multidimensional, and it cannot be solved in 1 year. So, as I said, this is the first year action in a multi-year effort to address the issues. We know that there are pay disparities, and there are folks that have been paid below their pay grades. There's some of the actions we took. They're bringing all those professional teachers at their pay grades. I mean, we have addressed that issue. It was an issue. That issue has been addressed. Going forward, that issue is behind us. There are other civil servants who have been affected in ways. So every year, we are going to take actions to affect. Now, you talk about the health sector, you talk about the security sector, agriculture. There are other sectors of government that we haven't touched yet. So this is a multi-year plan. See, every good thing must start. So we started. And I don't think the intention is to stop. We intend, there's a rule, it's a journey. So this is the first stop. These actions. Next year, we're going to work to raise the revenue. That's why we're asking everyone, including taxpayers, the revenue collectors, we are going to move robustly to raise revenue. We're going to close leakages, because this is how we fund these ambitions. These are increment ambitions, So this is how we fund them. And as we grow the budget, those that help us, civil servants and others, we will always look to them kindly. On the issue of pay disparity across the public service, the president established at a cabinet meeting a committee chaired by the vice president. I'm a member of that. And the Bureau of State Enterprises is also a member, looking at remuneration across the public service, across the SOEs and what have you, to see how proposals on aligning things with performance, and aligning things with law, and also making sure that you do not pay people in such a way that you disincentivize them. So that work is ongoing, and when that work is done, an announcement will come on what government has decided. So for now, we can put a pause on that, and the details of that will be unveiled later.
Minister, I'm also wondering what's in the budget for the Liberian people in the context of capital investment, other than the regular salaries, the fuel, the cars, and stuff. Can you clearly break down the package of, for example, portfolio for capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure?
Well, there is something called the Public Sector Investment Program, where we put some of the projects that are going to happen in government, some of which will include, we're talking about renovation of facilities, including schools, the education ministry, MCSS and others. Fundings are there to renovate some facilities across the country. I think more than $3 to $4 million. All the details will be unveiled later. All the things I was talking about in the road sector, I talk about more than $52 million. You know, those are all project-related things. You know, and that in a lot of respects, the budget, all this development funding, we even putting some money in for how we call it, national. So something about service. National service program. The ministries of education, youth and schools and others will determine the details. And even on some lines that are non-recurrent, that are considered recurrent, like grants. There are some entities that will give grant fundings, but they are doing development. So I've asked my folks, part of the problem is unpacking the budget code. You know, there are some entities that government just gave grant one time. But in the grant, they are doing development. But the development expenditure is not being captured. So there is a notion that what you see under the PSRP, which is 98 million now, 98 million, up from 67 million in the past budget. We've increased PSRP, Public Sector Investment Program. There is the notion that the only money you see in development is what you're going to find in PSRP. No. Under the grant portion of the budget, there are significant amount of monies that are going for development. When we give an entity a lump sum, so they are going to break it down. There are some rigidities, technical rigidities with the budget system that made it difficult for them to tease out all of those. But what I've instructed is that we know that it is not only PSRP that have development expenditure, like the normal county development expenditure, the county development fund. It's development, but it's not in the PSRP. You know, they put it on a grant of something else. So I inherited a budget framework that we're going to solve so that the development expenditure of government, the capital expenditure of government, no matter where they are, can be properly highlighted. So this is one of the rigidities. We talk about the PSRP, 98 million, we have actually allocated the total of 105 million. We have something called the core budget and the contingent budget. We have 18.8 million of the revenue that we consider contingent, and the rest of the revenue, which is 833 million, is considered core. The contingent revenue, the confidence interval around it, is not as high as the core, but we think we can raise. Now, if we raise it, we'll supplement the budget of many ministries and agencies by 18.8. So in terms of public sector investment program, we will supplement the 98 million by additional 7 million to make it, I think, 105. So there's going to be a lot of things happening, but the development expenditure of government is not only in the public sector investment program. And let me clarify this. You see, most of the partner money, you have World Bank project, you go to agriculture, they have a lot of projects there, right? And you go to education. Some of the funds are loans. Government is paying back. So if we at the Ministry of Finance, we are at the intersection of everything. If we discuss with the African Development, the World Bank, to say, okay, for education, this project costing 40 million will do this, that. That's for development. We know that. So if agriculture, people always come and say, oh, the agriculture funding is little, or the funding of this is little. But when you want to assess the entire development package, assess how much government is giving on budget and how much government has directed off budget through partners. So we know that In fact, there is a page in the budget, it's an annex, that shows the different amount of money that goes to each of the sectors. So I ask all the analysts, as you analyze, it is a little bit, I don't want to use the word, it's a little bit, the default thing of just going and say, oh, the percentage. If you want to analyze development expenditure, also look at what government has directed for projects in those sectors. Some of those projects are funded by donors. So that's how you do it. Otherwise, you'll be taking a myopic view of the development package.
We now have a draft budget in the tune of a little over $800 million. There is a familiar song we sing in this country about empowering the private sector, placing emphasis especially on Liberian-owned businesses and small and medium enterprises are still struggling, in the economy in their own country. Minister, is there any plan or provision in your budget to empower Liberian-owned businesses, probably through flexible credit facilities, tax incentives, and these kinds of things?
Well, let me say this: there is some funding for say that SME related activity in the budget, but we need to, when we're talking about empowering the private sector, we need to go beyond just taking funds in the government budget to give money out there. It's one way to do it, and we're doing some of it. The experience over the past has not been, I would just say, leaves much to be desired. We're giving small business support funding in this budget to the Ministry of Commerce. But besides that, I told you about partners. The partners, there is a project, although it started in the past government, it continues, and government pays back. When I was telling you about the loan portfolio, the debt service portfolio, all these projects, all these credits, when I said that we needed to pay $328 million in debt service, and we've allocated 137, we are paying back money that have been dedicated to some of these projects. Commerce has a project for, I think, SME or some other initiative, I think a World Bank project of almost 40 million, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's called a LIFT project. It started in the past. It continues now. It's an empowerment project. And government going to pay back that money. So you talk about government empowerment, it started there. There's a new project for youth entrepreneur. It's called LYEIB, through the African Development Bank. Youth entrepreneurs. If I'm not mistaken, you're talking about 20 million. It is government that directing the fundings there. It's private sector empowerment. But this one on youth. So you will say it's not on budget, but when you take loan and direct the loan to this initiative, you are empowering the private sector. And let me say this, government pays the money back. So technically, if the money is coming through these partners, it's government allocating it. But there is a notion that it is a partner's money. Yes, you think so, right? But who is paying back? We are paying, so it is government's money. When we sit with all the partners, now the World Bank, we're developing something called a 6-year contract program framework. That would say, and this is important, the World Bank, what are they going to emphasize in 6 years? What are they going to fund? Which project? They're going to sit with us as a government to determine the priorities. So when the World Bank, when we say, give money to this private sector initiative, give money to agriculture, give money to education, whereas you will see it as a World Bank project, but it is government that is directing money to those initiatives. So that's how we need to see it.
Okay. Finally, I'll take the last question at you, and then we can open the telephone lines. I know there's this Local Government Act that the Ministry of Internal Affairs or the government of Liberia is trying to implement. It's very relatively new. There is a hard fact here that government spendings and programs are still very largely centralized right here in Monrovia, Mr. Minister. I'm concerned about people in the rural parts of Liberia because they too are Liberian. Let's talk of rural development a little bit. what's their share of this whole 2025 national cake, and what programs are you putting in place to address rural poverty?
Well, almost no ministries, agencies, and commissions are not ministries, agencies, commissions for Morovia. They are for the Republic of Liberia. And the last time I checked, Liberia has 15 counties. So when you see fundings for a ministry, the ministry is to deal with Liberia's challenges, no matter where they are. So in a way, all these fundings we're talking about, that the rural agenda, where would the road be built? I was talking about NIMBA. So technically it's the counties, but we're talking about delivering services. In a lot of respects, everybody comes to Morovia to process things. The past government, the past UP government started this whole issue about in county service centers. There's been some transitional challenges, but actions have been taken to reactivate them so that people don't have to come to Monrovia. I'm told that the Ministry of Transport is looking at initiatives such that even getting licenses and other things, people don't have to come to Monrovia. So there's a whole decentralization agenda. And there's one conversation here we have into is even in procurement. If we are procuring or tendering something for a county, we need to look at it. There's a conversation that has started, and that may require a change of the PPCC Act, so as to make it more enabling for businesses, local entities who want to compete for projects in their counties to be seen at a different level, But the act as we have it is not sensitive to those local challenges. So we are thinking of reviewing and possibly amending the act so that it can also assist businesses in the counties, especially for projects and fundings that will be undertaken in the county. So there is a whole fiscal decentralization program that we're launching, and it will involve revenue sharing for some of the counties. It will involve a lot of things. I told you about the county development agenda, in which we have allocated money, and I'm told I will confirm the figure. It may be between $1 million to $2 million. Is new funding going to the county, but there is a revenue sharing plan that monies raised in some sectors will remain in the county. The modality to make sure that proceeds efficiently and transparently is what we're working on. And sometimes, in some instances, it is that particular aspect of it that gets difficult. Yes, it's for the county. You say it's the county. Who is the county? How is it accounted for? Clarence Jackson is from Bong. Money has gone to Bong County. Yes, for the county. What modality? We have to make sure that it is transparently utilized. We face some challenges, even with the county development fund and others. So there are funds for the counties.
Impact our budget?
In a way, it's good you ask this question. We were approved in the ECF on the 25th of September. When I came in by the middle of September, it was one of the first challenges I had to negotiate some of the there were some challenges, but thankfully we pulled through. The IMF's board approved $210 million that would come to Liberia, and many people thought that it would be budget support. No, the $10 million will come over, I think, a 40-month period. It goes really to the central bank to show up their reserve. The reserve, our reserve situation is not good. In fact, it even got a little bit more challenging. There was $83 million taken from the reserve over the past year to pay civil servant salaries. $83 million that this government, this government has inherited that problem. So $16 million is being allocated in this budget for next year, which we could have used again to increase some civil servants, but we have to start to pay back the central bank. It is budgeted. $16 million is budgeted in this budget to start to pay the $83 million that over the last year was taken from the central bank, to deal with civil servant salaries. When government faced challenges, they could not raise the money. It resulted to the central bank, took or credited or whatever, the terminology I can use, but we have to deal with it. So the money we're talking about, the IMF support, is really to show up the central bank. But besides that, we're going to get, between now to the middle of December, some $40 million support from the World Bank as budget support. We have some problem with the timing. We're trying to do some things so that we've been facing a little liquidity problem of government. It's affected payment, but the liquidity situation is improving over the past 1 week. We are injecting more money in the economy. So, but besides the $40 million, we have qualified, and that's one of the things we have negotiated in Washington and concluded, because we met all the prior actions. We have technically qualified for additional $20 million from the World Bank. That doesn't come on budget, but it's going to be for disaster, to manage disaster. So when we have some disasters across, such as we had the last time in Riverside, there is a transparent process where we declare the disaster. We're going to have some $20 million to be able to access over a 1-year period. So that funding is not coming on budget. You wouldn't see it there. It's going to be controlled by the World Bank in conjunction with government through a transparent process. We say this is a disaster. I jokingly said that, you know what, we have to put in rules so that someone's chicken would not, die in the back of his house, and he comes and says, I have a disaster. You should give money. So those kinds of disasters will be your personal problem.
Okay, Minister Ngafuan, thank you. We can now open the lines to interact with Liberians who would have different concerns. Finance Minister Augustine Ngafuan is our guest on the OK Morning Rush. Call us now on 0777700999 and 5, 0555026999. Go on our page, OKFM 99.5 and OK TV. Our number is there. Your calls will pick your call. Good morning.
Morning, Fiscal. Good morning to my lovely minister. My name is the Governor in the community. Minister Ngafuan, I just want to commend you because you are one person that is proving that while your nomination, someone will not doubt about it. If you to go in and say that it was just looking like blah, because you know the then when you come in there to people have monetization.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Hello.
Good morning, parents.
Yeah.
And good morning to our hardworking minister, Mr. Ngafuan. Mr. Ngafuan, what concerns me is that concerning the issue of private sector empowerment, what is the government doing? As for example, I just read from the Friday newspaper that the NCSS concerns the school system just imported chairs and benches from abroad. What are we doing to produce those things? Benches, chairs, and other things that we will be able to use in our own country. We have the law and other things in this country. Why can't we inform ourselves into some protection so that we can empower our people? Thank you.
Thank you. Another one here. Hello.
David Koti, my name.
Koti, let's hear you, man.
Thank you. Let me first of all thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the splendid interview. Mr. Minister, good morning. I'm not surprised at what I'm hearing this morning because I do not only know who you are, but what you are. I can vouch for your credibility. If efficiency, and dependability anytime, anywhere. And I have no doubt that you will justify the confidence reposed in you by the President, His Excellency, Uncle Joe. You know, I didn't hear much about pensioners when you were talking. I don't want to tell you that I'm a pensioner, but please.
You are a pensioner.
My man, don't give me a hard time.
How you see of your status? You're a pensioner.
My man, let me talk to the minister, man.
You've been teacher, lawmaker, president, friend. You're a pensioner.
Look, my man, I'm talking to the minister, not you.
Okay.
Please give me a chance. Mr. Minister, please emphasize a little bit about people who are pensioned.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Thank you
very much.
Let me take another call. Hello?
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Clark Jackson.
Good morning,
For the
sir.
benefit of the listening public, my name is Maja Afani Mpesekova. I'm the national chairman of the Bureau of I'm following for Congo Town. I'm also a dissident of Grand Kemakale. The minister laid developmental agenda for 2025 in the new budget. And my disappointment is my country, Grand Kemakale, is being used as a source to support the national budget. They are taking royalties from the companies operating in my country and beautifying other countries, and will continue to sing in abject poverty, underdevelopment, and hardship. What the minister is doing about our role from Medina Johnson to Robertsport. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vani. Hello?
Good morning, Mr. Clark Jackson.
Good morning, sir.
This is Emmanuel Strong calling from New Georgia. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Sean, let's hear you.
Good morning, Mr. Minister. Thank
Good
you so
morning.
much for being so brilliant this morning. I think we are back into real governance. This is what we call real. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you so much.
Hola, Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, let me say good morning to the minister. Summer D. Kpehe from Providence Society.
Kepler, let's hear you.
I want to ask him one question. Let me appreciate him for the deliberation. My question is, civil service through to South Jokai has done a good job by blocking people from the payroll. So now it's here in my question. Where is the salary have been blocked and people have been paid for payroll? Where have been directed?
The mornings, you mean. Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. You are on the line.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is also Prince Kolake. I phone for District 5. Let me admit, I really appreciate the minister. He spoke collectively. He tried to do away with the political stuff. Like I told someone just now, it's my first time to have listened to a minister without listening to a jargon, a slogan. So, like that the salary disparity, I think it is essential. Those nurses that have been paid, hearing on that there will be a top, it is something that is very essential. So
Okay,
we
Prince.
look up to see more of that.
Prince, you say what your last name?
I'm Kolaka.
Damn it. Your last name is small name. Koloake. Hello?
Yeah, good morning, Minister.
Good morning. Let's hear you. Call your name.
Good morning to the Honorable Minister. This is Joseph Jeremiah testimony back the joining the conversation. Let me say thanks a million to the veteran for what caught my attention this morning to call is that when you mentioned about the increment, when you look at the civil servants, they look at the national police, or they just say the civil apparatus, workers and teachers' parents. And he said something when he started the show. If you delay the salary and you put them in debt, so by the time he takes a pay and pay the interest, there is a cut in his salary. But when you pay him on time, you do can also loan and get that profit. So
Thank you, Chief. I want people to ask the minister questions. Thank you, Chief. The Superintendent of Bapulu is on this line. Mr. Superintendent, let's hear you.
Good morning, Paris.
Good morning. Just call your name. The superintendent that you'll talk to.
All right, my name is Sam Zina from Babul.
Okay.
And I want to say thank you to the minister too for all the brilliant analysis. So my question has to do with the mining sector, where we have probably billions coming from and less monitoring in place. For example, you have Bay Mountain. There where they are mining from, if you go there now, you don't have the representation of LITI or LRA or geologists are not there to monitor what is leaving. And I know the essence of business is profit, so people want to maximize their profit. So if it will cause them to under report what they are taking to pay the less taxes. That's what they're going to do. Do you have any plan in place to revise some of those procedures?
Thank you. Hello? You can take 3 more, then we... Yep.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
And let me say a pleasant good morning to the minister in studio. My name is David Kpehe Mambe, and I follow from my community resident this morning. Mr. Minister, I want to say thank you for the presentation, and I think it spoke to the specific issues. You know, having civil servants to actually get the perfect remuneration is something that is good, that is laudable. So we want to appreciate you, and we want to pray that as the aspect that the government of Liberia will expeditiously ensure that many of these things that are promised comes in.
Thank you. Let's go here. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, good morning.
And let me say good morning to the Minister of Finance in the studio. My name is Rabbi Sheikh Otelo Mayon. I call from Congo this morning.
Rabbi, you in a classroom.
So I am so in my office. My window is open, so over the street.
All right, yeah, let's go ahead.
Am I okay now?
You are okay. The nurse is still there, but it's okay.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Minister, for the splendid deliberation this morning. I appreciate it so much. And there are a lot of good things there. Thank you for the adjustment when it comes to those who are at the bottom of the payment ladder, and you are trying to climb them a little bit. But my question is that I heard something like 50-some odd million or 52 million or so in the budget for road maintenance or rehabilitation or road network. So my question is, the last time I remember when Mr. Jackson hosted the public works minister, he said out of the 22 million allotted for the road work in 2024, 8-point-some million have been used and some still pending. So my question is, the 22 million, the balance of it that remain that were not used, is it going to be added to the 50-some million?
Thank you, Ray.
To whatever. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll end right here because we got like 7 minutes, 8 minutes. Let the minister respond to your concerns. I beg you, we're not adding up these costs. Minister.
Well, thank you very much. Maybe let me start from last to, last in, first out. Something to learn way back in accounting. You talked about monies appropriated for what we call the Pliable Roads project that was launched at the start of the regime, I think in early March or so. And the minister was right. At the time he was talking to you, the government had disbursed about 8.9 or something, 8.5 or something like that, but it was not more than 9 billion. But as we speak, I mean, every time the contractors meet some project milestone, payments are being made. So more payments will be made maybe before the end of the year. But we have also provided funds in the new budget for continuation of that project. It's a 2-year project, and so there will be no time where they will lack funding. That's all I can say about that. Besides that project, as I said, they're going to be community roads, rehabilitation. Somebody was telling me yesterday, I really didn't even know, that the road from, I think the road to Bapaloo from Motor Corner, there's a friend of mine that tells me that the road is being paid, it's been rehabilitated. So movements are on that road. So public works has started already. So I would just invite, I may not be privy to all the details, the whole package. The minister, would be the appropriate person to roll out. But from what I see, in the last time I saw the minister, he always talked about sunshine will enable his activity. And I told him, well, public works is about to shine because we're putting more money to works. If you talk about the sector that takes the bulk of the money, is works, because the Chinese say that, the road to development begins with the development of roads. So we're putting money in roads. Not that we just love Giddings, but we love ourselves first. And so it will enable the private sector. If people can move from here to Harper quickly, If people can move from here to Cape Mount, where the first caller called, those things have been noted. And I think one of the things the first caller said was that resources are being generated in Cape Mount. But let me say this, resources that the government depends on are being generated all across the country. Mr. Jackson, who comes from Bonn, can claim that, you know what, we contributed a whole lot. The Nibayans can say so. The people from the Southeast can say so. So each county is contributing to this national power. So the development of the country is government's collective challenge. Whatever you said, some of the partners, the companies are required to pay funds that must go to the counties. So one of the things I'm going to ensure, there's been some delay actually in remitting to the counties social development funds that government collects from companies that operate in the counties. One thing that I'm going to make sure happens is that the counties will get their money and get the money on time. There's been some obvious delay because of some of the legacy challenges that I inherited, but I'm going to work on that. Honorable Koti talked about, thanks for the compliment, it's good to hear his voice. I used to appear on his shows before, you know. He's a multi-talented person. But you know, we shouldn't. I like the fun we're talking about. He pushing his issue because he's, concerning pensions. Everyone will get in that category one day. So what we do for pensioners today is like, it's not that we're loving them because people are going to get there. We have more than $10 million in the budget for pensioners and whatever. So the pension situation will improve. But let me say this also. This budget...
Minister, we got 3 minutes now, yeah.
This budget, the new budget, is going to make the country to do better than this year. It will not solve all our problems. All our problems will not be solved next year. No. There will be areas that you will find us wanting for next year. You will say, we could have done better in next year's budget. We will take note. All the concerns that have been raised, we didn't allocate this was not enough. We're taking note. So this process is iterative, it's consultative. We're going to go across, we hear from our people. In the budget review process at the legislature, there's going to be a period of hearing from people. But even no matter what we do, even if the budget was $1 billion, it wouldn't have solved all of our problems. Because
Minister, let me squeeze in one.
Let me just say this.
Yeah,
the request that came from ministries, agencies, and somebody just hovered around $2 billion. We're talking about 851 million, which is more than $100 million, increment over this year's budget. But in spite of that, you couldn't solve all the problems. So we fall short in certain places. So people will find some things in the budget. Oh, I don't like this so much. We hear you. This is not a perfect document, but it's a document that will do good for the people. So when you look at it objectively, empirically, you will find out that next year will be better than this year. As I said yesterday, the following year will be better than next year, and the year after will be better. So they're going to be progressive, incremental development, and we are going to get on the development path. We'll solve some problems. Like we pave the road, complete the pavement of roads, meaning putting quotas on it. We wouldn't have that problem to solve. The last time we were here, just 1 minute, Chief. The last time we were in this job, when we signed, luckily, I had the opportunity to sign the $250 million agreement with the World Bank for the road that for the road from Rail Light to Banga to Ganta. Now we don't have that problem. We're not talking about Rail Light to Banga or Rail Light to Ganta. We're not talking about Ganta to Zwaju. So when we put the monies here, when we solve those problems will be behind us and we'll have new challenges to deal with. So all I can say is that we will be hearing from our people, most of whom have said things. We've taken some notes. I can't speak to all, but we will be addressing those things year in, year out.
I have an impression, and I've received a lot of texts from business people. They want you to address the problem just in 30 seconds. They are higher. Business people saying they work for the government, work is completed, and sometimes it takes up to 6 months before government pay them. It's embarrassing them. They're asking, what are you going to do it differently?
Look, the business people will admit that this challenge did not exist before. The government was very credible. In fact, business people were rushing to give government services because it was a giving. We did the commitment. There's something called the purchase order. We stand. We say it's government commitment. Government didn't have to pay. They would deliver. But over time, government lost its I don't want to use the high word, credibility. And so now everyone is scared. That is one of the legacy problems I inherited. I told the business people, and some of them, their obligations are in domestic debt, a huge amount of domestic debt. We are going to be dealing with those legacy issues, but we are drawing the line, meaning we are putting in systems so that going forward, business people, whether low level, small level, high level, that perform services for government, you give government some service, you sell some product to government, you provide some product, government will and must pay on time.
Minister,
so let them watch me on this.
Thank you.
And if there are challenges with my system, let me know. We'll take action, because we know if we suffocate the businesses, what we are doing, we are suffocating jobs.
Okay.
So
Liberia's Minister of
Finance
and Development Planning, Augustine Kpehe Ngafuan. Minister, thank you ever so much for coming. We look forward to having more of these kinds of interactions. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Clarence. It's good to see you it's been years. Yeah. It was good to hear some of your callers.
Yeah.
You know, I remember some of their names from the past before I left.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
David
you.
Kpehe and others, those are names.
Okay.
Where's this guy? How do you call him? Zeze people?
Yeah.
Is this still called?
The man will tell you what's the people.
So, those are normal callers.
Thank you,
I still remember their names.
We gotta go. Thank you. The news is coming up. Liberia at 10. My name is Clarence. I'll be back here tomorrow with the Thursday, November 21st edition of the show. My name is Fiscal. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.